Hello everyone, welcome to this video. This is presented by Group 17 on topic 5. Can the auditor's family member work for an audit client? Before talking about the answer, I guess you want to know why we need to concern about it, right? For example, here is Tom and his father. Tom worked in an audit firm while his father worked in a manufacturing company. The manufacturing companies go to the audit firm for financial audit service, and it happens that Tom is an auditor in this audit firm. So here comes the problem. Can Tom accept the engagement to audit the manufacturing company? If you think Tom can accept no matter what, let's look at news first. Last year, in 2016, EY was fined for about $9 million for inappropriate client relationships. You can see lines like auditor got a little too close to client, improperly close friendship, and romantic relationship. You may wonder what means by inappropriate client relationships, what means by too close, why EY get fined. To understand the reason, we first need to know what kinds of relationships are under concern. The relationship we are talking about is the family and personal relationship, and is the relationship between the member of the audit team and the director or officer or certain employees of the client. There are three types of family and personal relationships. The first one is immediate family member, which refers to your spouse or equivalent, like your husband and wife, or dependent. A dependent is a person that is financially depends on you, where you provide all or major amounts of necessary financial support. The second type is close family member, which includes parent, child, sibling who is not an immediate family member. So for example, your son is 5 years old and you're clearly the one who supports him financially, then this son is your dependent, thus immediate family member. However, when your son grows up and becomes independent of you, then he'll be your close family member. The third type is close relationship with a person who is not immediate or close family member. This type could be more ambiguous due to the definition of close relationships, but a good example would be your boyfriend, girlfriend, or a person that you have a romantic relationship with. It could also be a close friend or a person that you consider is close enough to you other than your family member. After understanding the type of relationship, it's important to know why these may create problems that result in inappropriate relationship in an audit context. These relationships are under concern because they may create self-interest threat, familiarity threat, or intimidation threat. I think you already have some knowledge on individual threat from the lectures, so let's look at some examples of how this threat related to family and personal relationships. Suppose your father is Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, and your boss has asked you to engage in an audit for Apple. In this situation, you know your father so well and for so long, you may be too sympathetic to your father's interests or too accepting to work from your father's team due to your belief that your father should be right. Then there is a threat of familiarity. And now let's say you married a beautiful lady who owns many shares of Tencent, and you as an auditor know your firm got an engagement to audit Tencent Group. You may start to think, if you're part of the audit team, then you could ensure that bad things will not be seen and result in unqualified opinion anyway. Then share price is less likely to be affected, and you and your wife may become a millionaire. In this situation, there is a self-interest threat. Now, let's say your father has invested heavily in a listed company and know that you are the auditor of that company. So he comes to you holding your tie and threatening you to make sure you will not issue a bad opinion because he will suffer loss. So it is clear that there is intimidation threat. By now, you should get an understanding of the family and personal relationships and the reason why those relationships may impose a threat. So we will now talk about what actions you could take and how you make those decisions.
To understand what actions you could take, always analyze the situation from three angles, namely the closeness of the relationship, the position of your family member in the client's company, and your own role in the audit team. It looks complicated, but no, don't worry. We will go through this one by one. If an immediately family member of yours is a director or officer or in a position to exert significant influence in preparing the accounting records or financial statement of your client company, then there is only one thing to do. You have to remove yourself from the audit team because the situation just creates great risk that is unavoidable by means other than this. However, if your immediately family members exert significant influence over the financial position or performance or cash flow of the client company, there are two things you need to consider. First, the position held by a family member. Whether the influence he or she has could seriously impact the financial position of the company. For example, roles like sales director, purchasing director. These roles are roles that you have to be careful about because of their powers and incentive on changing the numbers. If your family member is simply a clerk, then you have nothing to worry about. Second consideration is your role in the audit team. Think about whether your audit work will overlap with your family member's work. If your family member is a purchasing director and you are simply auditing on the PP&E, then you two are not directly overlapping. After knowing the two factors, we can then choose the right action. First is to try to make your part not to overlap with your family member's duty. That is to restructure the responsibility of the audit team so that you two are not directly interacting. If sadly there is no way that you can avoid the overlapping, the last resort is to remove yourself from the audit team, like we first mentioned before. If a close family member of yours is a director or officer of your audit client or an employee in a position to exert significant influence over the preparation of your client's accounting record or financial statement, you need to consider the nature of relationship between you two, the position held by a close family member, and your own role in the audit team to determine the significance of the threat to independence. You can apply safeguard when necessary to eliminate or reduce the threat to an acceptable level. For instance, leaving the audit team or restructuring the responsibility, so that you do not deal with matters that are within the responsibility of your close family member. Finally, in a case that you have a close relationship with a person who is neither an immediately or close family member, for instance, your best friend, and he or she is a director or employee in a position to exert significant influence over the preparation of a client's accounting record or financial statement, then you need to apply your judgment to evaluate on the nature of the relationship between you two. Are you two close enough to affect your behavior as an auditor? Also, what position is this person holding in the client's company? Is he or she so significant to influence the auditor's opinion? The best practice under such cases would be to consult a senior and act in accordance with the firm's policy. Restructuring of responsibility can also be done, and in the worst case, you might have to leave the audit team to avoid a conflict of interest. To avoid getting yourself into situations like EY in 2016, do remember the factors and apply a professional judgment. So now you should be able to understand what to do. Let's get your hands dirty and do some work.
Yes, which one am I? The one chatting with her friend? The one watching YouTube? If you think I am either one of them, sorry, you are wrong.
As the accounting firm is currently the peak season for auditors, I have already worked 30 days in a row at the office. Last night, I finished my work at 4 p.m. However, here I am continue to carry out those audit procedures. Although I am very tired, auditing is just piece of cake for me. However, I am having trouble in relationship with my girl.
What's wrong with you?
It's all about my girls and related to my boss.
Oh my god, is that your boss still your girlfriend?
Of course not, that is impossible. The problem is that my boss gave an audit report to me, and I found that the audit client, ABC Limited, is my girl's employer. And also, my girl is an accountant of the company.
Isn't that a good news? Your girlfriend can help you do the work quickly.
Of course not. My girls can't be my shortcut of the audit report, plus I don't want the romantic relationship hurt by the work. And what if I spot an error related to her, and how can I tell her? I don't want to offend her.
That's really a complicated situation. I think you should ask some expert for opinion.
Oh, I do have an expert. Hey, Siri.
How can I help you?
I have a new audit engagement, but my girl is an employee of this new audit client. I feel there is something wrong.
Your gut instinct is right. I just Googled the Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants. It stated that your situation will create threats to your independence as an auditor.
Oh my god. Siri, what should I do then?
Don't be panic, Leo. Let's first do an assessment of the significance of the threats. There are 3 main factors you need to consider. First, you should evaluate the closeness of the relationship.